Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast, where we break down everything short-term rentals, entrepreneurship, and building a profitable hospitality business. Whether you're a host, investor, or property manager, we share real strategies, real insights, and real experiences to help you scale smarter and grow faster. Let's dive in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 110 that I'm honored to be able to do with one of my good friends. My name is Matt Codd, and I'm here with Austin Spitzenberger. We're the Co-Host Bros Podcast. As always, if you like the show, you think we're funny, anything, you get value, whatever, any positive stuff from the show, review it, share it, put it out there, and, just let us know. Today, we have Kory Rankine in the house. What is going on? I did it. Woo!
How's it going? Everything's good. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I appreciate it. Looking forward to having an exciting conversation about the STR world.
Yeah, man, super excited to have you on. I've heard you on a couple other podcasts. I see you show up on LinkedIn, and man, I was just like, we got to get this guy scheduled, and I think he will be tremendously valuable to our audience. And Kory, if you just don't mind, for maybe people that don't know who you are, give us a little bit of background of maybe like how you got into the space and exactly kind of what it is you do today.
Yeah. So started in this industry about 13 years ago. I'm originally from Connecticut, moved down to Florida for school. And then after I graduated, I was trying to figure out where, I wanted to land. Got my major in accounting. Did it for like a month and said, forget that. I want to do something more exciting. And the vacation rental business sort of just fell in my lap. At first, I was doing a lot of concierge stuff, like car rentals, hiring chauffeur services, booking yacht charters, and just helping guests on the concierge level. And then when I was introduced to the vacation rental industry towards like the end of 2013, I just took a liking to it and I just fell in love with it. So now we've been in the industry for 13 years, primarily in the South Florida location, mainly in Miami area. And we're focusing more on the high end luxury homes per se. We want to expand nationwide and eventually global, but it's one of those things where you don't want to rush the process and you want to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. We had some challenges over the past couple of years, but right now, we're in the phase where we're restructuring everything and kind of starting fresh.
Yeah, I love it, man. What does restructuring mean? Like what are some things that you guys are focusing on or putting into place that where you use kind of the word restructure?
Well, starting from the beginning, I had no knowledge or experience in this business or in this industry. So for the first couple, well, not the first couple, first decade, I was kind of like, learning as I go. And I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't have any solid processes, systems, or anything set up the right way. And, you try to go out there and hire consultants to help you in the industry and help you build out the business model, help you structure the business or whatever. But what I realized and learned with most of these consultant companies is that it's more of a, how can I say? It's more of a, what's the good word I'm looking for? They're basically just there to just not really help, but just bill you like a lawyer would do, right? They come in, give you whatever, basic advice and information, set some stuff up that don't really necessarily work for your model, and they hand you a hefty bill at the end. And it doesn't really allow you to, how can I say, grow and scale your business the way that you wanted to. And I don't really put the blame on any consultants or anything. It was more of me having to learn the industry myself. So there's a lot of areas from the marketing department, guest services, property management, portfolio development. There all those different areas. I had to go back and just relearn it myself to know how to do it the right way. So restructuring is basically putting systems, processes, everything in order to structure your business so it could grow healthy. And I feel like a lot of people skip that part. When you hear about this industry, especially with all like the advertisements that's going on social media, it's like, oh, you could find a property, you could sublease it from the homeowner, and you're making $100,000 a month. And that's not necessarily the case. There's so many different factors that people miss out on just because they don't know and understand the industry and the business itself. So I had to take some time out and basically learn, you know, every area of the business, every area of the industry, so that I could basically put solid systems in place to be able to operate the business in a more healthier way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And we've never had any consulting, but I mean, probably you can attest to this, but what I've learned that really does work, and Matt, I know can attest to this as well, is like, in, over consulting. I can't say this because I haven't done it, but based on what you're saying, it almost seems infinitely more valuable to have a network or a mastermind, if you will, of other operators per se that have gone through and maybe solved the problems that you've already solved. That's been tremendous for me. So I don't know about you, if your network has played a big role in kind of helping facilitate those systems and processes, maybe more than an outside consultant might, right?
Yes, but to be honest with you, I'll tell you the cheat code is AI. um, at first, I was very reluctant in using AI, especially like when it first came into the scene. And I was like, AI, you can't really use AI to replace what we do, because what we do is more on a personable level. But, as the years went on, I realized AI is very great for admin stuff. And the admin stuff is basically building out your SOPs, your systems, just structuring the business. So yeah, it's good to network with other individuals in the industry. It's good to have those masterminds, go to conferences and learn from other people's mistakes, or if somebody could guide you. Like even right now, I mentor a couple of individuals that's in the space, and I teach them everything that you know I've learned along the way, where I've messed up at, what went right for me, what went wrong for me, to what took me 10, 12 years to learn. It's taken these individuals a year or two. I wish I had that when I first came into the industry, but yeah, right now I'm heavily utilizing, AI and Claude to help me like rebuild everything, as far as just like the step by steps, the systems, even with building out like our financials. You know, that's an area where a lot of people mess up in this industry, because our accounting system in the STR space is very complex. It's not a one size fits all. You could talk to a CPA and they'll come in and look at anyone's books in the STR space and they'll be confused. You know, but again, I've utilized AI to I utilize AI to help me, build out all these different things, all these different models, this financial spreadsheets, the systems, how are we going about portfolio development, marketing, you name it. So it's helped me out a lot. And again, like I said, when it first came out, I was very reluctant to use it.
Yeah, no, do you care to share like one maybe scenario that you've leveraged AI, whether it be you kind of said some things like accounting and marketing, like anything that like you could share if somebody's listening and they're like, I haven't thought of leveraging AI this way before. Maybe one way that you're like super proud of, like, dude, I did this. And if I could tell Austin's audience, this is one of the things that I would maybe implement or maybe a takeaway from this kind of episode.
Yeah, I would say marketing. It's been the best use for me thus far. The reason why I say that is because over the years, I've had like a love hate relationship with marketing companies. And what I realized with all these different consultant companies is basically they capitalize off what you do not know. They play off your ignorance. So if you don't have any knowledge in regards to any area, whether it's marketing or accounting or whatever, and you hire somebody and they're charging you hundreds of dollars per hour or whatever, they're banking that you do not know anything about the whole marketing process. So when they're not able to deliver, they could just basically tell you like, "Hey, we're doing this," and they could give you a breakdown of everything, knowing that you don't understand what they're talking about, to justify why they're not able to produce results. So um, it was last month, I was saying to myself, why aren't we getting, a good amount of leads with the business, right? I understand if you're not getting bookings. That's one thing. And there's so many different factors that play a part for you not being able to book a property. Maybe the price is too high. Maybe you don't have enough inventory to satisfy the needs of the guests that are coming down, whatever the case may be. But if you're not getting any leads at all, that's a red flag, and no matter how complex a marketing agency will explain the reason why they're not able to deliver, it's not acceptable at all. So one day I was just sitting home and one of my friends introduced me to Claude, and I just started brainstorming. I'm like, okay, how can I utilize Claude to work in my favor in the marketing realm? And I just started talking to it. I'm like, hey, can you do this? Can you create campaigns? Can you do the bidding? Can you create the campaigns on the meta meta ads? Can you do it on YouTube? Can you do it on LinkedIn? And I'm just starting asking all these questions, and every question I asked if they could do it said yes, without a doubt. So then you give it a go. And what I realized with like the AI and the AI agents is that you describe everything that you want the AI to do, and it just takes over your computer and it just starts building out the campaigns. But before I asked it to build out the campaigns, what I did, I asked it to audit what my previous marketing agency was doing and to give me a report on the quality of work. And it gave me a report, and I was not satisfied. And it was like, I get it, it's very competitive, especially in the Miami market. But little things of having the incorrect phone number on the ads, not having the right keywords, certain things not that are, like very basic stuff that, your most, how can I say, basic stuff that any marketing person that started in the marketing industry would know how to do. It wasn't very complex of the stuff that they were supposed to that the AI kind of picked up on that they were doing wrong. So when after I got the report, I just had Claude just clean up everything, you know, pause all the accounts that are not working for me, and just basically optimize the campaigns. And I would say from June 12th when I started till now, it's like night and day of the difference. I'll give you an example. Our impressions every month with the last marketing agency was like around 3,000 to like 5,000 impressions. In 3 weeks, we had like 20,000 impressions. Our CTR rate with the last agency was like 1.5. Now it's like high fours. Sometimes it hits the fives. Um, in the 3 weeks, well, in the last 8 months of the last agency doing the marketing work, we probably had 10 leads come in, from, the paid ads and like this, like the paid ads. And in 3 weeks, we've had like 200 leads come in. And I'm like, okay, for the past, I would say 8 months, I'm paying this agency, thousands of dollars, and they're not delivering. And every month they kept saying, oh, well, your web development team is not doing this, or you're not doing this correctly, or it's a competitive market, and every excuse you could think of. And I don't have a marketing degree. I don't have a marketing background. And I just utilize and leverage the AI, and the results that I was able to come up with in a short period of time is insane. Like there's no way that they could kind of like, argue that they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And what I realized with most consultant companies or, outsourced agencies, I get it. It's more of a quantity versus quality. So their mindset is like, how many clients can we get over the course of 1 month or whatever? Have these monthly subscriptions, and they're just paying a monthly fee every single month. And if you have 1,000 clients, and each client is spending anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 a month, so 100 to $200,000 a month, and you don't have the capacity to tend to every client's needs the way that you want them to efficiently. And I feel like that's where, a lot of agencies are going wrong. They're just basically overloading their client base, and they're not able to give, substantial or efficient work to the clients that are hiring them for their services. So the way that AI comes into play now, whether it's marketing, whether it's accounting, whatever service is, they're here to fact check everything that everyone's doing. These are our checks and balances. We don't live in an era where you could just take someone's word and just run with it anymore. Somebody tells you that, hey, we could do this, or hey, this is what we are doing. There wasn't any real way to fact check it if you didn't have any experience in that space, right? If I don't have a marketing background, there's no real way I could fact check a marketing agency and the work that they're doing. However, with these different AI tools, you could fact check what they are doing, and if they're not able to produce results, you have a hard decision to make. You either let them go. Well, it's not even a hard decision; it's an easy decision. Just let them go and fire them, and don't waste any time in doing it. You know. So where that helps me out at now, it allows us to run lean and to bring down our expenses, right? Because when you're out, whether you're outsourcing or whether you hire an internal marketing manager for your company, that cost is going to be very high, right? So, for instance, if you hire someone internally, you know, a CMO's going rate right now is anywhere between 150,000 and up. And the thing is, it's like at that 150,000 mark that you're paying that CMO, you still have to pay for the ads, right? So that's even more money. Then you have to pay for the content, even more money. Then brand partnerships with influencers, so on and so forth. So that bill is very excessive. So what a lot of individuals in the SDR space, what they do is they outsource because it's like it's a fraction of the cost. You'll hear a lot of people in the industry saying, "I'm a fractional CFO," or "I'm a fractional CMO," or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, we have
And
that.
exactly. And the thing is like when you hear that, it's like, wow, you know what? I could get good quality work for a fraction of the cost. But what are you trading off, right? Because the word fractional, that doesn't mean it's only fractional the expense, it's fractional the attention that they're giving you. They can't spend 10 hours a day on your file alone. They have to split that up across the board with 20 different clients, you know? So again, um, it's like damn if you do, damn if you don't. But where the even median is you have a AI software to do all the heavy lifting. And then if you do decide to hire a fractional CMO or a fractional CFO, all they're doing is just basically checking everything that you did to make sure everything looks correct, right? Because AI does make mistakes here and there. So I look at it like this: if I could tee up everything for a fractional CMO or a fractional CFO or a fractional accounting or whatever the case may be, the 10 hours that they were going to bill me for, AI did it. I only need you for an hour. Bill me for that 1 hour a week, 4 hours a month, cuts my costs, but you'll be just like the professor in the classroom. I did all the work. Well, the AI did all the work. I just need you to fact check everything to make sure everything is correct, And I feel like that could be very helpful for a lot of entrepreneurs in the space or any industry, as a matter of fact. You have to be able to leverage AI as much as possible for the admin work. Now, for the more hands-on stuff, the stuff where it's like person to person, you don't want to. AI can't do that. I see a lot of people kind of utilize AI with the chatbots to like for messaging and automated responses, so on and so forth. And you could use that to an extent, but you don't want it to fully take over, right? You want to have it to a place where you have a team, like a guest service team, a property management team, to be involved. And then for like the minor issues or like quick responses or whatever, you could utilize AI. But sometimes guests get frustrated when they feel that they're talking to an AI system or they're talking to somebody in the Philippines. They want to talk to somebody that, if need be, they could show up to the property right away. You know, so I feel like that should be like a hybrid type of scenario with AI when it comes to like guest services and property management. But for all the admin back of house stuff, yeah, leverage the heck out of it. Like use it as much as possible, because you could cut your expenses by 75 to 80%, and you could be able to get efficient work out of it. And it's like a jump start with everything. What would normally have taken you 3 4 months to do, you're doing it in weeks. Like me building out the campaigns when I had the marketing agency, it's 10 hours of just basically like onboarding and learning and researching, and then by the time they're finishing doing all like the onboarding, the R&D stuff, 2 months went by. I use Claude, do all the R&D research and everything in 20 minutes. So it kind of like, it boosts your ability to be able to like, get things done on a quicker pace, and it's more efficient.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything you're saying. And then another component of it too, I think, is like if you're not trying to make your staff smaller and replace them with AI, well, the way I see it is like you're really just freeing up time and energy for people to do more of the human components of the business, right? So like you're eliminating some of the admin work, but you're freeing up people to be more hospitable or take those extra steps that make you a better operator. That's kind of the way I see it, where it's like, well, we want to implement AI where it makes sense and where we're weak, but we don't want to do it to try to like eliminate the workforce and have everything run on AI. We want our people just to be that much more involved in the business where the human touch is
Exactly.
important. That's kind of the way I look at it too. But like, yeah, everything you're saying is it makes sense. I know Matt's probably got something. He's the AI guy.
Well, and the thing, I mean, the thing too, like you're saying, like with ads, like people hire a marketing agent because it's hard to do an ad, right? So, I mean, if you connect, like you're saying, you connect your MCP server to Claude for Meta, you can have an ad lickety split, right? And then I also want to reiterate for everybody else when he said like CTR, he's talking click through rate, which the marketing company had the average click through rate for you trying to get clients. That's the average click through rate is like 1.2 to like 2.4 in our industry, right? So the fact that you're getting fours and fives, whatever ad that is, you should double down on that ad.
Yeah.
Whatever other, I'll shut the other ones off because you're a month in now, quadruple the budget on that ad and make some money. Um, I think it's fantastic. I think if people are not using AI, they're fucking missing out. I'm freaking missing out. I'm sorry, I forgot. Austin told me not to cuss because your location. My apologies.
Grandma's
I
house,
think
man. He's at grandma's house.
yeah, he's at
He's
grandma's
saying,
house.
Now,
Uh,
grandma's in the other room talking, so she can't hear anything we're
we
saying
got to
right
tone the bro down a little bit.
mess it up. For sure, dude. Like, I mean, I think that if you're not using AI, you're losing. Like, even when you say like financials, like if you need a dashboard to see how your properties are looking every quarter, you could build one in like 25 minutes.
Exactly.
You could link it to your website. You could go dashboard at koryescape.com or whatever, like whatever you want to do, and then anybody can log in with their, your work your organization, and then you can go see the numbers. So it's like if you guys aren't using it, you're like missing out because everybody else is using it. So
Yeah, I
um,
was missing out in the beginning, and I'm late to the party because in the beginning, if you listen to some of my other interviews, I wasn't against AI, but I was trying to like, you know, push everybody to say, hey, listen, do not lose the human touch. You do not want to replace AI. You don't want to replace your entire business with AI at first, but now when I got introduced to Claude and I see what it's capable of doing, I was just blown away. And I'm like, you can't fight it.
yep,
You
yep.
can't fight it. Like you have to just everyone listen to me right now. If you haven't used any AI software, specifically Claude, I love Claude. Um, get on it right now and use it,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
and
I
learn.
think you probably had the issue that other people had, right? You're using Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Hence the beginning of the name is chat, right? So we're just talking. But Claude, it's like you download an extension and it's like, hey, can you do this? And it's like, oh, debugging your browser. Let me take care of this for you. Or you
Exactly.
connect the MCP server, right? And you're like, what's all the data for this house for last year? Like, is it beating the year before? And it'll tell you. It'll
It's
break it
like,
all down for you. So it's like there's so much power. And I think because you were in the same place as me, man, it's like I was using Chat GPT, and then it was like my buddy was like, dude, you got to use Claude, bro. Like, I mean,
yeah.
what you're doing with Chat is cool, but you got to use Claude. And I was like, all right, I'll try it out. I started using Claude. Oh my god, I
It
thought
changed your life. Let me
oh,
tell you,
dude, for sure.
when I got introduced to Claude, it was like on a Wednesday, and I didn't leave my house until Monday the next week. Like, when I mean didn't
Yeah,
leave the house, I didn't leave for food, I didn't leave for sun, I didn't leave for anything. I was stuck on my couch utilizing Claude for like 12 to 15 hours a day.
yeah, for
Are
sure.
you
It's like an addict. The
I-
$20 wasn't enough. You got to
No, it
upgrade.
wasn't.
Like,
Like, I had to
yeah,
up that budget real quick.
it gets you. It gets you quick too. Yeah,
But yeah, like, yeah, I was just stuck. I was locked in, and it's just like, the thing is though, I love it, and like, I know it's going to be more advanced, and I just want to make sure that it here's the thing with technology. It gets you to a point to where you feel that you cannot live without it. And like our iPhones, for instance, we won't leave our house without our phones at all. And with the Claude, the only thing that any AI, the only thing that I'm afraid of is basically, I don't want to get to a point to where it's like, this is my crutch, and I can't function, I can't do anything without it. It's like a meltdown, right? If your Wi-Fi is not working and you can't log on to Instagram, it's like it's the end of the world. Like, what's going on? It's like, dude, it just refresh for like 30 seconds, relax, right? But I feel like, Claude, all the other AIs are so useful. You don't want to get to a point where it's a crutch, where you're not able to operate, alone, outside of it. So I say that to say this: even though we have the AIs, still make it a part to learn the business and the industry. Still make it a part to watch and listen to podcasts such as Co-host Bros. Um, Make it a point to learn everything about the industry. Take 2-3 hours a day to read articles, listen to podcasts, research, and learn. Because the AI is only as good as what you're feeding it, right? At the same time, you still have to make sure that if it spits out a dashboard or a financial spreadsheet, you still have to go through it to make sure that all those formulas add up and all the numbers are correct. If it creates a campaign for you on Google, you still have to fact check to make sure it's working. Like when I first started, the first couple days when I had the campaign build out, and then, I had a couple of my friends, I said, hey, type in luxury villas in Miami or whatever. And I wasn't popping up. Same thing on social media. I wasn't seeing any of my ads in like the first couple of days. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? But if you don't take the time to research, understand the market, the industry, what people are looking for, you wouldn't know what prompts to give the AI to make sure that they're efficient when they are building out the campaigns, when they are building out the spreadsheets. So I feel like it's very important that, yes, leverage the AI, but also take the time out to learn the business and the industry as well.
yeah, it makes you efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like another thing too is like we want to make sure as a species, we don't lose the ability to think for ourselves along the way.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
having those, because every time you think of something, you're just like you're. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting lazy, where I'm like, I don't even want to think about this. Just type it into Claude. Like, what does
Yes.
Claude tell me to do? What does Claude tell me to do? I'm like, no, what does Austin tell Austin to do? So like that's another tough balance, because you want that easy answer and you're like, Claude is going to give you some game, but at the same time you're like, but I can't lose the ability to process my own thoughts and think for myself along the way.
And like, who wants to think for themselves, right? I remember I was born in 85. So in the 90s, when you had to go do a project, you had to walk to the library. You have to search every aisle for the
Yeah.
book that you want. Then you have to read every page. Then you had to go get, other notes from other colleagues and everything. And it was like a whole process just to figure out like what's the capital of Geneva or something like
Yeah.
something small or whatever, right? But it's like now it's just like, man, I don't want to think about anything. Just
You're
put in
dating us.
ChatGPT, put in Claude, and just have it do it for us,
You're
And
dating us, dude. You're dating us. Encyclopedia Britannicas. You got to pull them off the shelf, alphabetical order.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
rough.
But yeah, those days are long gone. But like you said, Austin, you want to get to a point where it's not thinking for you, and you just like, and the only way to do that is detach yourself from time to time. You remember, like I was from Wednesday to Monday, I was stuck in the house just using it. And then I got to a point where it's like, okay, I have to detach. I have to go see what's going on outside. It's like one of those end of the world movies and stuff. And I finally
Yeah.
stepped outside. And it's empty everywhere. And it's like, okay, this is what the sun looks like. But but
Nah, you
yeah.
hit your weekly limit. Don't lie. You hit your weekly limit, and you're like, I have nothing else to do. I gotta go outside now. Yeah,
Let me
I
go
gotta
for
wait
a
till
walk.
Thursday.
But yeah, so that right there in itself, AI has been amazing and it's been great for me, especially for entrepreneurs that are you know are sick and tired of just being taken advantage of and just wasting money. I feel like it allows us to be a little bit more efficient. It allows us to fact check what everyone else is doing, and it gives us the ability to grow at the pace that we need to be at. You know, Other ways of restructuring my company, inventory. Inventory is major in this business. So last year I sold 3 properties that I owned, and I stopped working with a few homeowners. Is because what I realized is that how you start is how you finish in this business. The profit's always in the purchase, right? And also with the homeowners that you end up managing for, that relationship is very important. And when I first came into this industry, it was just get whatever property you could get your hands on. you know it doesn't matter if the homeowners expectations are unrealistic. I didn't really do my due diligence on the properties that I purchased, as far as just like the numbers and the locations and the zoning and the short-term rental laws and so on and so forth. So I said, like the inventory is the foundation of the business. So what I had to do is I had to let go a lot of properties that I was working with, and I had to start from scratch, but only work with properties that fit my business model. Um, you know, we have to make sure, like, if we're purchasing a property, don't go for the most beautiful home, that's a turnkey property. Sometimes you want to get that property that might be a fixer upper, because cost wise, you end up benefiting a lot more. So I'll give you an example. Um, Most of the times when we go out there, we look for a beautiful home that's going to be a turnkey and move in ready. You just have to add the furniture and you're getting bookings right away. And it seems profitable in the beginning because you're like, okay, I could generate $30,000, $40,000 on this property. But when you sit down with your accounting and you do the numbers and you start doing all the numbers for the taxes, the interest rates, depreciation, so on and so forth, you realize that you're not really profiting, you're losing, you know? And it's hard to tell somebody that you're losing money when you're generating $30,000 to $40,000 a month on the property. Well, if you have a variable interest rate and if it's high or if it's a hard money loan, um, other expenses, taxes that a lot of people don't take in consideration, all these things matter. So one of the things that in regards to onboarding properties, we're looking at properties that are either going into foreclosure, distressed assets, and up and coming neighborhoods. The reason being is because before, Miami used to be set up where if the property is not on South Beach, nobody would rent it. But I'd say 5 years ago, especially during the pandemic, no one really cared to rent on South Beach, especially with the short term rental laws prohibiting people to do any short term rental stays on South Beach. A lot of people started taking interest towards like the outskirts of South Beach, North Bay Village, Miami Shores, um, Buena Vista. Now you have some, zoning issues in some of these areas, but in certain areas like North Bay Village and certain areas in Miami Shores, it's legal to do short-term rentals. And that's very important in this business. A lot of people want to work in the gray because, the profit margins are so high. But when you have code compliance come knocking on your door, kicking everybody out and your guests out, the profit margins don't really seem too enticing at that point. So we're looking for properties in these areas where you can legally do short-term rentals, and we're not looking for the most aesthetically appealing property. Um, there's an area in Miami where houses are selling for like anywhere between $500 to $800,000. And yes, it's a tear down, but if it's costing you $200 to $300 a square foot to build, plus whatever expenses, and you're ending on this property like 1.5, 1.6, you know, your profit margins are way higher than any other alternative. And what I mean by that is, like, if you could build like a modern home for a fraction of the cost, and your overhead every single month is $10,000, and you're generating 25 to $30,000 a month on this property, you have high margins. And then even if the market is slowed down and you have to, like, pivot to long-term rentals, you've already done the due diligence to basically um, work within those parameters. You already done due diligence, whether it's a long-term stay or a short-term stay, you're still going to make good margins or whatever. So we're looking for properties that you have to build up. We're looking for homeowners that fit our business model. And we just want to make sure that we get the inventory that works for us, because we're looking for longevity, right? The churn rate for most of these homes nowadays, they're moving really rapidly right now. You get a property today, that homeowner wants to switch in the next 6, 7 months, right? Because you're not able to get the returns for them that you pitched them on, right? Um, a property that you purchase, if you didn't do your due diligence on the zoning and the financials, you're thinking that you're profiting, but then a year from now, you realize you're in the hole. And now when you just want a fire sale, you're losing 30 to 40% on the investment. There's a client that we had 2 years ago. Well, not 2 years ago, about 4 years ago, as a matter of fact. And he purchased his property in the height of the pandemic, where, these prices were inflated by like 100%. And, in the beginning, he was cash flowing a good amount of money, the 40, the $50,000 a month. But when the market corrected itself, that number dropped drastically. So now you're just barely making your mortgage payments. Now, when it's time to sell the property, those numbers, are not the same anymore. And he ended up having to sell his property at a $1.4 million loss. And the thing is that it was the realtor that he was working with. Most of the realtors in this industry, they don't care, after the sale is done, they don't really care what happens with the property. They're like, hey, I got my commission, I'm good. Call me when you're ready to sell the property. All right. So now they're making money on both sides. And the person that's hurting on this is the investor. So I feel like, with restructuring the business, we're taking a more hands-on approach with growing our inventory. We're taking a more hands-on approach in regards to doing our due diligence and making sure that the investment is the correct investment. And we're not afraid to walk away from a property. Um, we rather walk away than to take on a headache that's going to, drastically hurt our business.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Do you think it's like a lot of people that maybe have unrealistic expectations? Because at the same time, you're saying, like, yeah, there's a winning recipe that works and the investor can cash flow, but somebody can come to you with a house that is newer and maybe they're just strictly investor, or they know they're going to lose money and they're like, that's not important to them. So you're open to, I assume, taking on that as management too. Like, you're open to anything, because at the end of the day, if you're transparent with the investor, as you as the vacation rental manager, if it makes money and it's a good property that you want in your portfolio, I mean, you're open to that too. And maybe there's just a language gap because I'm not as familiar with the Miami market. But yeah, does that kind of make sense? Like,
Yeah,
are
it
you,
does make
you're
sense. It's
okay? Trying to see if yeah, go ahead.
so what you're referring to is basically like homeowner persona, right? I feel like every homeowner has like a different angle when they get into this business. You have some homeowners, like you said, it's like, hey, listen, I have billions of dollars. I really don't care about, the cash flow. I just need to park my money somewhere, or I lose it in taxes or whatever the case may be, right? So you have some homeowners that, you know, they don't mind the house sitting empty for X amount of days, because it's like a lifestyle play, right? They could use the house when they want to, and when they're not here, it could generate some, revenue to pay for their trip to Saint Tropez or whatever the case may be. And then you have some homeowners that this is an investment; they want to basically cash flow a lot of money, um, and they care about the occupancy rates, they care about the ADRs, and then you have some homeowners that are more like a hybrid, to where it's like, I live here, but at the same time, if I could get some money to offset my expenses, that's great too. So it comes down to the homeowner persona, right? And again, we're not saying, hey, we only want to deal with um, a specific type of property. No, we want to deal with a specific type of homeowner that fits our model, right? So and it's more so towards the homeowner's behavior. You said something that stood out, is being transparent with the homeowner, right? I like to under promise and over deliver. So if the homeowner is asking like, hey, I saw this house and this house could get $15,000 a night, and I feel that my house is equivalent to that, um, I should be getting that. And that's not necessarily the case most of the time, you know? There's so many different factors that take into play. Maybe that person's getting $15,000 a night, but he has a 20% occupancy rate. You want an 80% occupancy rate. So for you to get that high ADR, that's not what the market is telling us right now, And I feel like that's where a lot of people kind of forget that the market plays a big role in that, on what your property should earn, what your property should get. And I know a lot of people in the STR space, they kind of like they utilize the other softwares and tools out there to get like the like AirDNA and key data and price labs and so on and so forth, to get the data and the information on what the nightly rate. And sometimes you can't utilize that because it depends on what market you're in, right? If it's in the luxury market, yeah, those softwares and those tools could be helpful, but there's you have to still do your own, R&D yourself. I'll give you an example. I was speaking to an individual, and he was basically saying like, "Hey," he was deferring me to utilize the software, and he was like, "Yeah, the software is telling that you could get this is what you should be able to generate per night." And I gave them a test. I was like, "Put in this property." And they put in the property, and I was like, okay, show me the benchmark trends and all the data and the information of what the ADR should be for this property. And they came back and they was like, okay, based off of the trends, this property should generate, you should have the property priced at $800 a night. And I said, you telling me a $20 million home should be priced at $800 a night? And I was like, what are you guys basing it off of? And he showed me the comparison property. And what the tool is doing, it's not comparing it, apples to apples. It's taking, hey, this 5-bedroom home compared to this other 5-bedroom home, and it's within a 5-mile radius. This home has a pool, this home has a pool, and that's how they're matching it. But they're leaving out so many different variables that play an important role on coming up with that number, you know? So again, I go back to doing your own research, studying the market, understanding the industry, because you could utilize, the information that you're getting from some of these softwares, but at the same time, it's also going to need your own personal touch, stuff that the softwares and tools don't have the capability of doing, right? I know the luxury market. I know the industry. I've been in it for 13 years. So there's certain things that the tools are going to miss out on that I'm able to catch, So when it's telling me that this property should be priced at $800 a night, and our history shows that we're getting $7,000 a night for the same property, it's like that's a big price gap right there. So yeah, I feel like it you still need to be involved as much as possible, in the business in the industry.
Yeah, I think local market knowledge, especially for yourself, if you've been there for 13 years, like I just don't think we're at a point. AI is great, but I don't think we're at a point to what you're saying where you could just go into AirDNA and it's going to give you better data than what you know with 13 years of experience. You know the neighborhood, you know the location, you already manage properties there. So I think yeah, like to your point, it's a great. Those are tools you can leverage to help further back what you're doing. But by doing it for 13 years, I mean by looking at a property and looking what AirDNA says, yeah, that's maybe ballpark, or like you're like, oh, that ain't even close,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
just by one glance, like no, not in that neighborhood, that ain't gonna do that much, or that's way over. So yeah, I think you got to take those tools kind of with a grain of salt. Um, but I wanted to say like some of these like numbers you're putting out, like I'm not familiar with your market, so if you can, like what's your portfolio look like overall? Unit count, I mean, sure, or if you don't care to share that, or unit count and maybe like what your average property does in revenue, because I don't know, we manage in the Texas Hill Country and we have some really nice properties, but I don't know, 7,000 a night is not something in my brand. But yeah, what's that look like for you?
Yeah, so before we had 25 properties in our portfolio, and I scaled that back to 9 properties. I list 6 on the website, and then the other 3 are just basically like off market properties that we work with. And as far as like the nightly rate, it ranges anywhere from 1,500 at the lowest, all the way up to like $50,000 per night. You
So what
know,
do these properties look like? Like tell me, because that's wild. Like I don't go on those kind of vacations. What does that look like?
I
Not yet, man. Maybe one day, but
mean,
I'm
I
just
mean, yeah.
curious.
You got enough on these points? Can I use my points?
No, I mean, with these properties, it's like you go into one and you feel that you've seen the best property in the world, and then next week you go into a different one and you're like, okay, this is the best, and it gets better and better every single time. Like these properties are everything that a ultra luxury home, kind of like that you envision an ultra luxury home would be, like from the modern style, the aesthetic. Um, Let me show you. Can I share my screen and show you? Or you guys don't
Matt,
have that?
can you do that, Matt?
Oh, you can, but we only release audio. But you should be able to share screen for just
Yeah,
see
but he'll
us.
give us some talking points. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, if you go down on the bottom and hit the plus button in the middle, there, the screen with a plus, not the person with the plus. I don't know
Okay.
if it shows that on your
Hold
screen.
on for 1 second. Let me.
So you have like a super exclusive portfolio, basically.
Yeah. These houses, and the thing is, it's like being in the business for so long, you just meet so many people and you just get referred business. And also, too, I'm constantly searching. Um, Hold on. Let me pull it up.
So with you, if you're at like 9 listings now, that's crazy. But the amount of money you're making is also crazy. So like, you're mostly in the trenches doing most of the work, right? So
No,
at
well, I have
nine
a
lists,
team.
oh, you have a team. Okay.
Yeah, so basically the way that I kind of like break it up is like I said, most of the admin stuff, I'm involved. Obviously like I have people in my back office that help me with, especially with like finances and stuff, my accounting. The marketing team, I let go, I outsourced that, but I let go and I'm taking that on fully right now. And then I have other teams, like I have my web development team that does all the tech stuff. I wouldn't even try to learn how to do any of that. and then
Claude can help you.
and then I have a team that builds out my CRM with HubSpot and does all my automations. But as far as boots on the ground, I have a guest service team and I have a property management team, right? And our guest service team is basically what any concierge at a hotel will be, but they're more hands on, they're not just going into the Rolodex and just giving you a number to call if you want to make reservations or if you want to go on a boat ride or whatever the case may be. So, all right.
And somebody meets them at those properties, right?
Yeah, so
And that's like different.
all of our check-ins are done by our guest service team. We do not do self check-ins at any of the properties because we want to have we're focused more on the experience as opposed to just the asset, right? The asset has to be quality, but at the same time, the experience is what everyone will remember forever. You know, um, our tagline is creating memorable moments that will last forever. So we
Damn,
feel
so
that.
you have someone neat. We've never had a like a vacation or a manager like this. Everyone's traditional vacation rental manager. So this is very interesting to me. Like
No, I
nine.
think Rachel was like that too, and
Yeah, I think so. But like even
but
if you look at,
not this price point.
yeah,
I mean,
this is like this is a different like this is interesting.
So this property is going at $30,000 to $40,000 a night, and
a
he
night.
only wants a specific clientele to stay at his property. His words verbatim: "I only want the uber wealthy to stay there." So even if a person has $30,000 or $40,000 a night, but it doesn't fit the how can I say the profile of what he's looking to have at his home, he's very selective, and in the sense because his home is worth a lot of money, and he looks at it like, only a certain type of individual will take care of my property the way that I want it to be taken
So you
care
got to submit a resume or what?
of. Basically.
Probably, right? That's the only thing I can think of. Like, what is your
Yeah.
job title? What is your position? Yeah,
So
I don't know.
this house is 11,000 square feet, 6 bedrooms. The pool deck is like an outdoor club. He has a nightclub inside the house. Well, it's like a movie theater, but this turns into a nightclub. Um, like it's amazing,
So,
you know.
so like, okay, so what does it work at this level? Like, what you don't tell me exactly, but do you have to negotiate more? Like, let's just say industry standard is 20% of rental income. Like, I'm just trying to, what is like, is that fair to do in your space, or is it because these houses make so much more money, 20% is a really big number on top of what they're willing to pay you? Or you don't have to give me your percentages per se, but does it have to be more flexible?
Well, yeah, it is flexible, and you hit the nail on the head, right? Some of these homeowners, they'll pay you the 20 to 25% commission, but then some of these homeowners are like, "Yeah, listen, 500,000. I'm giving you 10%. You should not complain, for a 2 week
For sure.
rental. Like you should not complain about that." And we don't. We're very flexible with some of our homeowners. And then some of the homeowners, they work with like a net to owner rate to where it's like, "Hey, listen, this is what I need to make. I don't care how much you mark it up." So it's a case by case scenario depending on the homeowner. But we have different, structures and models on how we, build that out. But industry standard is around 20%.
Yeah, man.
So when do me and Austin get to stay here? I'm just
Listen,
kidding.
listen, right now, I'm telling you this. So we started this year we're starting to raise capital for our company. So when we start onboarding new properties and building our portfolio, you're going to be the first guys to come out. Everything on me. You guys could even do a podcast session over there, whatever you guys want to do. So give
There
me a
you
couple
go.
months. I'm gonna be inviting you guys down here.
Doesn't it doesn't hurt to ask, huh,
Nah,
Austin?
listen, a closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Right, I feel you.
Yeah. So now we're currently growing our portfolio. So like once we start getting more properties and stuff like that, and that's another thing that I really so I'm glad that you brought that up. So when we start growing our portfolio, once we get to like back to like the 20 to 25 number exclusively managed properties, one of the things that we're going to do in regards to marketing is that we're going to give access to like influencers, brand ambassadors, podcasters, and I'm going to basically create a relationship to where you guys will be able to have the ability to stay at our properties free of charge. And this is another way that we could do like cross promotions, cross branding, so on and so forth, or whatever. So you that ask wasn't too far from what we're already trying to do in the near future. So
I
you guys
used
are
Claude,
definitely
bro. I
getting
read your
invited.
mind. I said, what is Kory thinking? Claude was like, go ahead and ask. I'm like, shit, right on. Hey, okay, so is that island you just showed? That's not Miami though, right? That's like another section. What do they call that?
That is Miami. So Miami,
Okay.
it's very weird how they section it off, right? So that's the Venetian Islands. It's on South Beach. So
Okay.
South Beach has so many different pocket areas where people go to. You have South of Fifth, you have Star Island, you have Hibiscus Island, you have Palm Island, you have Fisher Island, Sunset Islands, North Bay Road, Venetian Islands, and the list goes on and on and on. But it's all considered Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's cool. That looks like some Thailand stuff right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. That house is amazing. And we have other houses that are in the same caliber, um, not as big, some a little bit smaller, but we're trying to get properties that fit the company profile, the aesthetic, the vibe and the feel. And also too, we're not only just going after your ultra luxury modern smart home. I feel like it gets to a point where a lot of companies, they have a portfolio of homes that all look the same, and it doesn't really give the business character, right? And well, sometimes you have individuals that want to come to Miami and they want to feel like they're in Miami. They want that Mediterranean style property, you know, the tropical garden. Like, as a matter of fact, we had a client that stayed at one of our properties last week, and the house looks and feels as if you're in Mykonos. As a matter of fact, let me share my screen again and I'll show you.
So you said earlier in the beginning that you wanted to be nationwide at some point. So are you going to be finding other properties like this nationwide? Is that the plan? Like the highest luxury properties that you could find?
No, again, like I said, we're not just going after ultra modern. We want to make sure, like, we want to have character. So we're going after. It has to fit the the standard as far as cleanliness, as far as look and appeal, but it doesn't have to be your ultra super modern home. Like, look at this property, right? We call it Villa Mykonos, and we just had a client stay there, and it gives you that feel as if you're in the Mykonos Islands. Hold on, let me show you.
So you probably can't obviously can't disclose it, but I used to probably you probably have a lot of famous people staying at your places.
Yeah, we definitely do. We have a lot of high net worth individuals, celebrities, athletes, you name it.
Yeah, and what people don't understand is like I don't even know what 9 listings in the gross booking value for your company would be, but like what also people are like, oh man, I just need to get a bunch of luxury properties and do that. He's solved the problem, which you have solved the problem in a way. But I think what traditional vacation rental managers don't understand that I could see in your business is you probably have a lot different overhead than us that manage, 50, 60 listings where we don't have somebody showing up nicely presentable to greet them at the property. Like that cost, that's like an employee, right? Like, or unless you're the one doing it, I don't know.
No, I used to do it when I was young. I don't have the energy, nor do I have the how can
Mental
I say,
tolerance.
the physical capacity to do all that running around anymore.
Yeah.
um, but no, when I first started out, I started this company when I was 27 years old. So I had the energy. I had, I was doing everything. I was doing the check-ins, the checkouts. I was getting people on the boats that they rented. I was bringing cars that they rented from us. I was doing it. I was even at some points, I was even helping with the housekeeping at some points when I first started in the industry. Like, I was doing every single thing that you could think of in this business. And then as you get older, there's a lot more wear and tear. And then you start looking at, like, okay, where am I needed the most? And you start transitioning to where it's just like you hire people to take on that responsibility. So one of the most important things that I thought that was um, highly beneficial for me is hiring a guest service team. You need somebody, and I tell my guest service team, like, listen, I don't, once the clients check in, this is all on you. Like, I don't want to be bothered with anything unless it's an emergency, you know? But it's their responsibility to you know, make sure that you're constantly checking in, making sure that you're tending to their needs, making sure that you're doing everything that they ask. And it's so funny that we bring this up is one of our guest service team members, she just joined us, and I was telling her, I was like, listen, you're gonna have clients from all different types of backgrounds, and you're going to have clients that are nice and polite, and you're going to have clients that are irritable and frustrating. And at no point should you ever um give any like low quality service. You always have to be hospitable. You always have to be able to tend to their needs no matter what it is. If they're telling you, hey, we need you to come pick up our clothes within the next 15 minutes to drop it off the dry cleaners, you need to hop in your car and get there as quickly as possible, you know? But it's the experience that they're looking for. Having the house is one thing, but having that quality service, somebody to tend to your needs, somebody to help you relieve what help you escape from whatever stress that you're going through, um, that's our business, right? Our business is to allow people to escape whatever reality that they're going through, whether it's a stressful work background, or it's dealing with a whole bunch of kids running around in your house and you just want a vacation or a break. You don't want to leave one problem to travel to Miami to deal with a whole bunch of other problems, right? And that's our responsibility. So yeah, the overhead, it's a lot higher than just having 200 units and all you need is a housekeeper and everybody else is doing everything themselves. But what we're but it's valuable, and I feel like it's very important to have that within your business model.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess with your properties, like clearly they're in the top 1% of the market. Two-part question. Are these mostly found via direct bookings? Because I can't imagine somebody going on Airbnb and having Airbnb as a middleman paying $30,000 or whatever you're saying. Is it mostly direct bookings? And then my question part two is like, how do you even get more clients when you're so focused on what you're focused on? Is it mostly like through those clients' network of people, like, hey, this is the guy I use. He only manages a few and he's really good at what he does. So I guess that was a two-part question. OTAs, direct booking, and how do you get more clients at that level? Because I can go out in my vacation rental market and I can get some really good properties pretty easily, but they wouldn't be the 1% that you're managing.
Yeah, you definitely want to be omni-channel, where you're on Airbnb, you're on VRBO, you're on all these different platforms on the OTAs. You want to make sure that you have your own website, and you want to make sure that you build a B2B network. Is The B2B network, the referral business, is what drives the majority of our rentals, to be honest with you, right? We get a lot of referral business from different realtors, different travel agencies, different concierge companies, so on and so forth. So a couple of years ago, I took the liberty of just basically going online and just Googling every travel agency worldwide, going on every realtor brokerage website from Douglas Elliman to Berkshire Hathaway, sports agencies, and just basically building up our database. I have my team. It's a VA, and her job is to go online every single day and just basically look up 100 different contacts for every travel agency, every realtor, every sports agency, every wealth management company, and build up our B2B database. That is very, vital to have in your business, because the referral business is going to generate a lot of business. And also, too, we use Guesty. Um, the channel manager with Guesty allows you to connect with other, OTA companies or travel agencies. So basically, your properties could push through to their website as well, and you get business like that. And then just also just being consistent on everything, right? Whether it's social media, whether it's networking, whether it's speaking on podcasts, going to conferences, you just want to put yourself out there as much as possible. Um, Another thing too, in regards to like what you said with the one percenters, that's another part of the business that we are, restructuring and transitioning. We want to cater to everyone that has the desire. They may not have the means, but they have the desire to be able to stay at a beautiful home. Now, not saying that they're going to stay at that property that's $50,000 a night, but remember, we have properties as low as $1,500 a night. And say even if you're making under six figures a year, it's still affordable to stay at a property that's $1,500 a night if you have a group of people, right? Because if you look at it, if you go to a hotel and you have a group of 10 and say you're getting five rooms, each room is going anywhere between 150 to $200 a night. And I'm talking about quality hotels, not your Motel Sixes, like quality, nice hotels. These rooms are going for anywhere between 150 to $300 a night. So let's say it's 200 at 5 rooms. That's $1,000 plus all the taxes and fees and parking and all that stuff. You're at 1,250, and you don't have the privacy. You don't have the luxury of having everything your own pool or whatever. You have to share with thousands of different people. It's in your best interest to rent a house at that point. Now, if you're just traveling by yourself and you're making under six figures, then yeah, you may not want to spend $1,500 a night on a house, you know? But if you're in a group, it's way more affordable to stay at a villa as opposed to staying at a hotel, you know? So our company, Escape Luxury Hospitality, we restructured. Now we're just branding as Escape. And we want to cater to everyone. We want to cater to everyone that has a desire to travel and stay at one of these properties. We're catering to people that just want to escape, people that just want to just basically just leave whatever reality that they're in at that moment and just escape into a vacation in a property that they dreamed of or whatever, just for a moment. So our focus is being able to allow travelers to live that dream and get that experience that they see everybody else that are affluent able to do. And that's one of our goals. We want to be able to provide a vacation, for everyone worldwide.
Yeah, that's crazy. I couldn't even fathom 40 grand a night, honestly. But yeah, Kory, I know you got things to do, man. This was really good, and we could go on forever.
Yeah.
I will give you an AI tip. You need to talk to AI for AI to be able to recommend you through AI, so that if there's luxury people looking for you, they can do that. And then if I were you, I'd stand at helicopter pads all day to get clients. I'm just kidding. Just
No,
saying.
listen,
Private airport, just chill. Hey,
just have my
G6.
sign up, like like
Yeah.
those two couples that climbed up the Empire State Building.
Hey,
Like,
whatever works, man.
whatever works.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. And thank you for that tip, because I was trying to figure out like how I could get found on AI. Like how you said, and like that was a complication that I was just trying to figure out for the past couple of weeks. So thank you for that.
Ask AI. It'll
Yeah.
tell you. Yeah. You can have it run a check every month and see how you're looking on the AI scoreboard.
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
if you
No, I'm
pop
definitely
up.
gonna tap into that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, awesome, man. Let everybody know where to find you or follow you or anything else you want to share. Any last parting words?
Yeah, you could find me on LinkedIn at Kory Rankine, or you could go to our website, escapelux.com. And our social media is Escape Lux, so Instagram.com/EscapeLux, Twitter, same thing, Facebook, the same thing. But yeah, I'm open to speak, talk. Anybody could reach out to me. I'm an open book. My parting words is, oh man, I would say, you know what? I would say every person in the industry, I I think every owner in the industry should be more hands-on with the business. Take more of a hands-on approach with the business and from every aspect. I feel like a lot of people, they get into this industry and they just focus on making the money and they become detached. I feel like everyone should just be very hands-on and involved in every aspect of the industry, and that's how we build a better community within this space. It's we can't keep having the cash grab mindset. From the tech people that are coming into this industry, from the operators, from the homeowners. I feel like everyone should focus on building a community. I'm not saying that money's not important, but like, do not let that be the driver. Let Giving people great, amazing experiences, amazing stays, and doing whatever you can to put a smile on somebody's face in this business. Oh well, yeah, in this business that is spending money with you. So be more involved, build a better community, and do whatever you can to give these travelers a great experience.
For sure. Yeah, and the money will flow.
Definitely.
So For sure. I appreciate that. I know Austin appreciates that. Before Austin gives his parting words, he didn't rate my intro today. So Austin gets to rate my intro and he gets to give the parting words. So he gets to say more than one word today.
Yeah. Intro was pretty good. I'd say like an 8. No, I'm being too generous, man. I'm giving you layups. Let me go like a 7.6, 7.6.
Oh wow!
Ooh, damn.
It's like a 7. It's like the
Rough.
pizza reviews. Like 7.6 is like a relatively good score, because I give you 8s all the time. Then where's the room for improvement? 8 something, So, anyways, we'll go with that.
Can't get nothing out of you. All right, Austin.
All right. Well, thank y'all for listening. Peace.
Peace.